Mangwanani Malelepo Vukenjani Klekwa Savannah ve Africa. Welcome to Africa. Good morning. From deadly floods in Kinshasa to a rising diplomatic rift between Algeria and the Sahel bloc, this edition of Africa Good Morning delivers powerful regional updates. We unpack Zimbabwe's surprising tariff reversal on UN goods, alarming UN findings on maternal health across the continent, and the economic ripple of the US-China trade standoff on global oil prices. Plus, Gore brings you Zimbabwe's latest from political tremors to sporting triumphs. Join us for these stories and more on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, oneup2.com, and Network Media Hub on YouTube. Top stories shortly. At least 33 people have died in Kinshasa, capital of the Democratic Republic of Congo, after torrential rains caused severe flooding, forcing desperate residents to wade, swim, or paddle to safety in makeshift canoes. The Congo River recently hit its highest level in 60 years, and flooding is common in this city of 17 million, where poor urban planning and soil erosion worsen the impact. Half of Kinshasa's 26 districts have been affected, with the worst damage in poorer areas like Njili, where homes are swept away overnight. Angry residents accuse authorities of a slow response, while water shortages now plague much of the city due to damaged treatment pumps. Major roads, including those to the airport and main port, are impassable, and the overflowing polluted Njili River has trapped many people. The government has acknowledged the need for better infrastructure, especially as more heavy rain is expected in the north and northeast. The alliance of Sahel states, comprising Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, has recalled its ambassadors from Algeria, intensifying a growing diplomatic crisis in North Africa. The move follows allegations that Algeria shot down a Malian military surveillance drone last week, a claim that both underscores and deepens tensions along the Algeria-Mali border. Mali's military-led government reported that the drone was destroyed nearly 10 kilometers south of the border it shares with Algeria. In contrast, Algerian authorities contend the unmanned aircraft had strayed more than 2 kilometers into Algerian airspace, therefore violating its sovereignty. Labeling the incident irresponsible and a breach of international law, the Sahel bloc condemned Algeria's actions. Mali also announced its withdrawal from a broader regional military group that includes Niger and declared its intention to take the matter to international forums. In a rather surprising move aimed at thawing long-standing tensions and fostering economic ties, Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa has announced the suspension of tariffs on U.S. imports just days after former U.S. President Donald Trump slapped an 18% levy on Zimbabwean goods, a decision critics say is a desperate attempt to appease Washington in hopes of having targeted sanctions lifted, sanctions that, despite a partial rollback under the Biden administration, still implicate Mnangagwa for alleged human rights abuses and corruption. With bilateral trade already modest at 111.6 million in 2024, analysts like Tendai Mbanje argue that the benefits of this unilateral concession skew heavily in favor of the U.S., while prominent journalist Hopewell Chinono criticizes Mnangagwa's solo diplomacy as a missed opportunity to rally the Southern African Development Community SADC, which he currently chairs, into a collective response to Trump's broader tariff assault that also saw Lesotho hit with a punitive 50% duty, prompting it to seek fresh negotiations and new markets. On World Health Day 2025, yesterday, the United Nations sounded the alarm over Africa's slow progress in reducing maternal mortality, revealing that while deaths have halved since 2000, the continent must now accelerate its annual improvement rate 12-fold to meet the 2030 global target of fewer than 70 maternal deaths per 100,000 live births, far below the current average of 442, with an estimated 178,000 women and nearly 1 million newborns still dying each year from preventable causes such as hemorrhage, infection, and lack of skilled care. Health experts point to underfunded systems, personnel shortages, and instability as persistent barriers, particularly in rural and conflict-affected areas, even as over 60% of African countries now report that most births are attended by professionals, a major jump from 2010. The WHO warning that the current pace will leave the continent at nearly 350 deaths per 100,000 by 2030 is urgent investment, leadership, and systemic reform to give every woman a safe delivery and every child a fighting chance at life. You are still with Africa Good Morning. Shortly, we're going to be talking to talent Gore as she delivers the Zimbabwe report. It's time for us to talk to Talent Gore as she delivers the Zimbabwe report. Talent Wamkase.
Wamkase Africa.
Tamuka Hedu. Now, Talent, before you give us a background to Blessed Mhlanga's initial imprisonment, we are aware that he's been denied bail for a third time, and his lawyer, Doug Coulthard, if I'm not mistaken, delivered a letter which was written by Blessed Mhlanga just outside the court yesterday. Have a look.
Dear friends, this is a letter from prison from Blessed Mhlanga. He writes, "Dear friends and fellow Zimbabweans, as I write from this discomfort of my overcrowded cell, I am suffering from a serious bout of flu which has drained my strength and now threatens my inner peace. Sleep hardly comes as deep thoughts and lice battle for my attention at the most undesirable times. Such is the life I have lived for the past 41 days. The state has unleashed its worst to keep me here, and mostly in total disregard of the Constitution. I know I will be staying here longer for the sins of freedoms, particularly that of expression. I stay in D-class section with the most dangerous criminals. My friends, the journey has not been easy, and it remains extremely difficult as we nudge forward. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It's very uncomfortable, but unavoidable. It's a journey filled with frustrations and pain, which at times overwhelms me to tears, anger, and pushes me to the edge of emotional breakdown. During these times of near emotional breakdown, I've fought with everyone around me. I've fought with my fantastic legal team, my fellow colleagues in the media who have been standing head and shoulders in my defense. I've fought with my employer of choice and even my own family. Prison, dear friends, is a dark place. It taints the soul and clouds one's judgment. For when in pain, alone, and disclosed out to the world, life is not the same. We begin to see friends as enemies and all good efforts towards us as insufficient. I tell you, friends, these walls of punishment built by Smith and abused by our own carry with them a curse that needs a strong heart and mind to survive.
So those are the words from Blessed Mhlanga from behind bars. Talent, if you could please refresh our audience on why Blessed Mhlanga was put behind bars in the first place.
Journalist Blessed Mhlanga was arrested for airing a press conference which was done by Blessed Geza, who was a ZANU-PF Central Committee member, who alleged that the president should be removed from office due to corruption and citing other problems. But soon after the airing of that press conference, Blessed Mhlanga was arrested, and it's now 41 days whilst he's in prison. And yesterday was his third bid for freedom, but he was denied bail by the Harare magistrate, who said that the courts had done a favor for Blessed Mhlanga. They said that they are now nearing his trial date. But they have not announced the trial date. They have said that they are now preparing to set a trial date for him. So he's going to be back in court on April 21 for him to hear his trial date. Right now he's just in prison. He doesn't have a trial date, and he's being denied a bail, of which a bail is a constitutional right for everyone. But for Blessed Mhlanga, he's being denied that, and people are wondering why he's not being given bail, given that most of some people rather who have committed serious crimes than him. Blessed Mhlanga was just doing his journalistic work, but he's being prosecuted for doing so. So he's going to be back in court on April 22 for a possible trial date.
All right, Talent. We move on to our next story, which is related. Just days after rallying the nation to protest against the government, war veteran Blessed Geza asserted that lawmakers were backing an impeachment effort against President Mnangagwa, citing the ZANU-PF leader's alleged mental incapacity. Here's Blessed Geza before you continue with that story, Talent.
We are impeaching Emerson on the grounds that he is no longer mentally fit to lead the country. We are constitutionalists, so we are using the Constitution to rescue the country. Section 97, subsection 1 and D of the Constitution of Zimbabwe provides for the removal of the president on the grounds of inability to perform functions of president because of lack of mental capacity to discharge the duties and functions of the office of the president. Mnangagwa is suffering from vascular dementia. We got copies of his medical results. His doctors have already told him. His family is aware. And the looting mafia is also aware. Unfortunately, some members of his family and the looting mafia, led by Kudakwati Tagurei, are taking advantage of his mental sickness. They are taking advantage of his memory loss and forgetfulness to make him sign documents they are using to loot the country. Because of this vascular dementia, Mnangagwa is no longer aware of what is going on.
Bold accusations which should be baseless. However, Zimbabweans have started pulling clips of President Emmerson Mnangagwa where they feel that his mental capacity may have been inconsistent. And one of those clips is from a speech this last weekend, which some people feel gives credence to Geza's claims. Here it is. All right, Talent, could you please give us more on that story?
Yes, the sensational claims by Geza are not new, having previously been made by exiled former cabinet minister Xavier Kasukuwere back in 2019. He said, Kasukuwere at that time said that the president was suffering from dementia, and ZANU-PF and government spokesperson George Charamba defended the president, saying that Kasukuwere was just jealous that he was exiled from Zimbabwe. And right now, you find out that the government rather recently has said that attempts by Blessed Geza to introduce a motion in National Assembly to impeach President Mnangagwa are doomed to fail because the move lacks cross-party support, while the grounds for the so-called impeachment are a stake of lies. The Minister of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, Jennifer Muswere, dismissed the latest stunt by Geza, saying the so-called impeachment paper being circulated by Geza is of no value and not worth the paper it is written on. It is not even worth the time and energy to read it. The minister said the people of Zimbabwe and their member of parliament are solidarity behind President Emmerson Mnangagwa, whom they voted for in 2023. The minister also said that the impeachment will never succeed. He said ZANU-PF was a colloquial party with grassroots support and the majority of MPs in parliament. So right now, the letter which Geza is talking about is just circulating on social media. We haven't seen parliament sitting for it, and there are processes which go behind the scene, or rather in the public domain, for when a president is about to be impeached. But as you know, for the president to be impeached, 2/3 of the members of parliament have to vote for the impeachment of the president. But right now, ZANU-PF has 2/3 of votes in the parliament, so it is going to be difficult for those MPs to vote for the impeachment of the president. So we're not really sure if Geza and his team have managed to get a vote from the members of parliament to actually vote for the impeachment of President Emmerson Mnangagwa. But as of now, all we know is that ZANU-PF has 2/3 majority in parliament, and the impeachment process could actually fail if those vote that they want the president to continue. So we're just going to be monitoring the situation to see how if the impeachment process is going to go on, or if Geza is just saying this for the sake of saying, but no action will actually happen. So we are now waiting to see what is going to take place during this period, especially in parliament, to see if the president will actually be impeached.
All right, Talent. And in another related update, but as concisely as possible, do tell us about the 98 individuals who remain in custody following the March 31 protests.
Yes, 98 individuals were arrested on Monday last week for protesting against President Emmerson Mnangagwa, and they were given this directive by Geza, appeared in court, and they were denied a bail. So right now they are in prison, and they will come again in court on April 10 for their trial date. As you can see in that picture, there is a queue of prisoners, of those who were protesting who are going into the Harare Magistrate Courts. Apparently, one of those people was actually identified from a video which is circulating on social media, and the police had to go to his residence to arrest him. So they will be back in court on April 10 for their trial date.
All right, talent. Moving on, the Justice Ministry has intervened to block the Zimbabwe Music Rights Association, Zimura, from implementing a $150 tariff on cover bands.
Yes, the Ministry of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs has halted the implementation of a 150 United States dollar cover band tariff imposed by the Zimbabwe Music Rights Association on local artists. The move follows a formal directive sent to Zimura instructing the suspension of the tariff pending regulatory approval. Zimura's head of licensing, Savius Matiza, addressed to the managing director of Ecobank. In the letter, Zimura requested the bank to allocate 30% of its sponsorship budget towards music licensing and royalties for copyright holders. So right now, that has been halted by the Ministry of Justice and Legal and Parliamentary Affairs.
All right, talent. And in the last of your stories, Zimbabwe women's national golf team secured a strong second-place finish at the 2025 Southern Regional All-Africa Challenge Trophy.
Yes, and the team, which is led by 15-year-old sensational Miriam Masia, Zimbabwe produced a commanding performance to finish runner-ups to the regional powerhouse South Africa in the prestigious amateur tournament, reaffirming their growing stature on the continental stage. Their total team score of 490, based on the two best individual scores per round, was just 40 strokes adrift of the dominant South Africans, who clinched the title with 450. Zimbabwe comfortably held off third-placed Namibia by 39 strokes, with Eswatini and Lesotho finishing further adrift in fourth and fifth place, respectively. The president of Zimbabwe Ladies Golf Union said that the performance was an inspiration and it was promising. She said that she was very proud of the team for coming up second in that tournament.
All right, talent. Thank you very much for delivering the Zimbabwe report.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
It's always good having you on Africa Good Morning. Let's swing straight into our economic news story. Oil prices continued to plummet on April 7, with Brent West Texas Intermediate crude hitting their lowest levels since April 2021, as intensifying trade tensions between the U.S. and China triggered fears of a global recession that could slash energy demand. Brent fell to $64.41 a barrel and WTI to $60.82 rather, extending Friday's steep 7% drop following China's announcement of a 34% tariff on U.S. goods in retaliation to President Trump's new duties, moves that economists say could stoke inflation, slow growth, and dampen oil demand globally. Let's have a look at the economic indicators. Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning throughout the broadcast on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, 1up2.com and Network Media Hub on YouTube. Tomorrow, we zone in on Botswana. From me, Ashwin Berry, and the Africa Good Morning team, Swera Zlakanaka.